I've got my 2022 Triumph Speed Twin 1200. You have to specify 1200 now, but this is before you did. This is 2022 Speed Twin 1200. Lovely bike. Great day for a ride. 65, sunny in Malibu, California. We're on PCH. And I want to talk a little bit about the bike because my last review was a few years ago. And that was my CB1100EX 2017. And it was a great bike. Great all-around bike. But this is a little bit lighter, a little bit faster, a little more aggressive. And if that's what you're looking for, this is definitely worth a look.
Unfortunately, while I was recording this, I had a little trouble because my helmet had a ton of wind noise coming in, so it was a real problem. That said, I'm just going to do the voiceover, and hopefully you guys can get some of the exhaust sound coming from the second microphone I used. So jumping right in. The Triumph Speed Twin occupies a kind of unique spot in Triumph's lineup. Sitting between the more sedate or mature T120 or the T100 Bonnevilles and that more aggressive Thruxton, it's kind of the Goldilocks, or at least that's what it was aiming for. It's faster, lighter, and meaner than the T120, but not as intense as the Thruxton with the clip-on handlebars. I'm a little too old for those, and I just find it very uncomfortable. So this is the middle ground I was looking for. One of my major complaints with my CB1100 or the T120s that I test drove to replace it potentially was that it was just a little too tame. I wanted lighter, I wanted faster, and the Speed Twin really addresses kind of all of those points, but to do so it has to make some compromises, so as a result it might not be for everybody. Now, I got the 2022 model. Triumph made some changes for 2022, so I wanted that. If you're going to do a lot of modification, you should probably get the 2019 to 2021 version. A little easier to modify because there's no Euro 5 emissions changes. So for the 22 model, they welded the cats, for example. So it's a real pain in the butt if you want to get the exhaust off and swap it. I usually do that, but in this case, I opted not to. Likewise, they changed some other stuff like the suspension. If you're going to be replacing that, might as well save some money and get the older model. There are a couple of things they did do that are going to be harder to fix if you wanted to get the old model and get the performance of the new one. New pistons, I guess they changed some of the ports and the adjustments to the cam profile. They reduced the crankshaft inertia, I guess, so it's supposed to be a little snappier. I didn't ride the previous generation, so I couldn't tell you exactly how it feels, but I will say compared to my CB11 or any of the T120s I rode, it is quick. Part of that is the super sharp, super short gearing, which when you're taking off from a stop is fun, but geared a little bit too short. It's very aggressive, but you know, when you're on the highway, if you're cruising at like 80 miles an hour, as many people do in Southern California, for example, you're going to be at like 4,500 RPM. It's a lot. I'd rather, at least for sixth gear, make it a little lower. I don't mind if I have to downshift necessarily to pass somebody, but it does feel a little stressed at that level. Compared to the T120, though, the Speed Twin's quite a bit lighter. It's about 476 pounds wet versus the T120, which I think is about 520 pounds wet. So pretty significant difference, and that mostly comes just from the size. But it's thirstier, so you don't have as much range as the T120. Even with the taller handlebars, it's not the most comfortable for all-day riding. That seat is tilted a little bit forward. There's that cant that can be a bit bothersome when you're in the city, start and stop traffic. You're kind of slamming your groin into the front of the tank. It's narrow, so there's not a lot of grip for your thighs. So I know other Speed Twin owners will often add those little like rubber grips on the side. I think that would be really helpful. Also compared to the T120 in terms of aftermarket support, it does not have as extensive a lineup of mods and third-party products and things that you can add on accessories compared to those standard Bonneville bikes, but there are some options out there, especially since it shares some of the components with the Thruxton. If you're looking for a two-up, all-day ride, you might find the seat a little bit cramped and go for the T120 instead. Overall, though, I think the Speed Twin's a fantastic option for those who want a light, maneuverable, fast city bike. The smaller size lends itself really well to that. It's not without those compromises, but if you're willing to overlook them, you're rewarded with a pretty exhilarating ride every time you hop on. I really enjoy it. I will say, I don't love the matte gray color that I got. I actually prefer the glossy tanks. I think they look a little bit more classic, but I got a really good deal on mine. And when I'm riding, I completely forget about the fact that I don't love the looks. Helping me get over my ambivalence towards the matte tank is the phenomenal handling. Handles like a dream. Chassis is planted, it's composed, it's pretty confidence inspiring, and I think part of that is also due to the good rubber that comes on the bike. I'll probably just get the same tires again. I really appreciate that new brake update they did with the Brembos. They're bitey, they're grabby, they work really well. I can see myself going over the handlebars, except that it comes with ABS. So I like that. I like traction control. I think in 2024, ABS and traction control are kind of a must, so I feel relatively safe riding around. I mean, not like in a car, but, you know, it's still a motorcycle. Anyway, just to sum it up, the 2022 Triumph Speed Twin is a fantastic motorcycle. I really enjoy it. I will keep it for some time, and I highly recommend it to anybody looking for a sort of a balance between performance and style and practicality-ish. It certainly straddles that line between Thruxton and T120 really well. I think it addresses a lot of the drawbacks I had with the CB1100, and so for now I'm very happy with this. I've only had the bike for about a year. I intend to keep it for quite some time. I haven't put as many miles as I had on the CB, and I'm hopeful that it's relatively reliable. I will keep you guys updated, hopefully do another review before I actually switch it out for something else. In the meantime, ride safe out there. Feel free to like, comment, and ask me any questions about the bike. Happy to answer those. And thanks for watching.